Hey, folks, welcome to the pre-show, which is not much of a show. It's just the pre-show. And we're getting set up. We're going to start a minute and a half earlier than normal. No, 2 minutes, 1 minute earlier than normal. So 9:03 now. We go until, I got to double check this. We go until 9:59. So 9:03 to 9:59. We got 56 minutes. 56 minutes. Let me double check that timing for some reason here. I got to make sure I'm doing this the way I'm told. And of course, you're seeing this because it's the pre-show. Let's see. Hang on. Got to throw on my glasses. Zang. I can see. No, we go 9:03 to 9:58 now. So let me redo this. We go down 1 minute, 9:03 to 9:58. There it is. Okay, I just had to get that into my my streaming stuff here. All right, so that's going to be a subtotal of how many minutes? 9:03 to 9:08. It's 55 minutes. All right. So we're almost ready to go. 1 more minute, we go live. And I think I've got everything running now. We got our stream running. And it's a little cool in here, down here tonight. So I'm wearing my, Field Guy, 55 minutes of holy bliss. That's what it is. So I got my thick, heavy blanket on tonight, which could feasibly double as a robe, where I'm playing some kind of ancient warrior. So there we go. All right. I hope you all had a good Halloween. We're about ready to roll here. Good evening, Master Finn. Good to see you. What do we got? We got about 13 seconds left. And the stream will go live. So I'm going to go dark. Stand by. We'll be right back.
The Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad, so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Well, greetings and happy Halloween, everyone. Happy Monday evening. Doesn't Halloween make Monday not feel so much like a Monday? It was a nice day. I will tell you this. And by the way, welcome to the program first. I'm Scotty Roberts, your host here on Intrepid Radio. And we're over here on subspace.radio. That's our network. You can hear the show 5 nights a week over in its audio format over there. And you can also go to Facebook and find us in 3 different places. Over at Subspace Radio, you can find us at Intrepid Radio and also at Scotty Roberts over on Facebook to watch the video simulcast. And then, of course, you can go over to YouTube. You can go to the Subspace Radio Network over on YouTube and watch it. And you can come over to my YouTube. That's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. And that's where the chat room is tonight and every night. And I like to camp out in here because it all shows up here. I think you can get it in the other chat room as well. But this is primarily where I hang out during the show. So come on over. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. And also hit the little notification bell. That'll notify you whenever we have something going on over here. And at the same time, if you are not a member of my channel, hit the little join button. And you'll be able to join this channel right over there on YouTube. And thank you all very much. And welcome. So Halloween, I thought it was hey, Mr. Remy. And I can't do it with the accent. But he says, hi, witchers, witches, and bitches. Happy pumpkin soup and cakes day. Hi, Scotty, witcher in chief. Why, thank you, sir. I've got, now you are in France, correct? If I'm not mistaken. I don't even know how to pronounce your name properly, even though I've talked to you for years. Etienne? Is that how you pronounce it? Etienne? Etienne? I'm not sure how you pronounce that. You'll have to call in one of these nights and we'll have that conversation. Maybe stick around for after we're off the radio tonight in about 53 minutes, and we'll do the after show, the post show, the captain's cabin. Hey, Carl Mulak, good to see you, sir. Milky Way Soul Tribe, Dave Potter, Sarah Yusuf. See, I'll do that forever until you tell me again, and it's burned into my brain. Michelle Canham Free, good to see you. David Castle, and Field Guy, of course. You got to go watch Field Guy's replay over on his channel, Field Guy 316. He said you'll get a good laugh out of it. And Roger Rabbit, good to see you. And yes, sir, this is the blanket. For those of you who have heard the story once or twice, Rainey and I, about 17 years ago, that dates this blanket that I'm wearing. I'm wearing a blanket tonight because I had on a jacket and it was just too bulky. It's not cold down here. It's just a little chilly. And I'm a little chilly from walking around. It wasn't cold out tonight either. It was a nice Halloween night at about 60 degrees. And so I came down here and it was a little chilly. And I thought, I'll just grab the blanket as I walk by it. And because the master bedroom is right there on the other side of that wall. So I have had this blanket on my bed since before it became Rainey's bed. So 17 years, I want to say. Closer to 18 years old, this blanket is. And it's still amazing. And but this is the blanket in that story. We're in the middle of the night, about 15, 16 years ago. This blanket got yanked off of us in the middle of the night, just whoosh. And I sat up in my half stupor and caught it and pulled it back up. And so it's a great blanket. Who is bounding down the stairs? Bound. Okay, it's Rowan. We're on radio right now, so. And so this is the blanket. And as Roger Rabbit asked, here, I'll show you. It's this. Look at this. This could pass for a robe if I needed to wear one. Look at that thing. That is about, I'd say it's probably only about 20 pounds of blanket. but you can see how heavy this thing is. And it's got that pile lining. If I ever want to be warm, this is what I put on. And I could maybe someday, if it wears out as a blanket, I could craft it into a good costume, because you can almost wear it now. So I am some Celtic tribal chieftain I could play, ancient. So it's an awesome blanket. And that's our show for tonight. So thanks for stopping by. I just wanted to show off my blanket. No. So that's why I threw this on. It's nicer than a coat. It's softer. It's soft and supple on one side and soft and furry on the other side. And so Rainey, I'll tell you a little secret. Rainey wanted me to get rid of this blanket when we started getting very serious, and she started hanging out and pretty much living at my house at least 5 nights a week. And when that happened, she wanted me to get rid of this blanket. And I said, I love this blanket. I paid a lot of money for that blanket. And she said, yeah. She said, but, and pardon me, folks, for sensitive ears, I'm not being braggadocious or anything. This is just a story. She said, you've had so many women wrapped up in that blanket. I don't think I want that on my bed. And I said, well, we can take it to the cleaners. He said, I can wash it. It's not like it's unwashed. It's a blanket. And so this blanket has been on our bed ever since. And there are times where Rainey she'll pull it out of the bedroom and drag it out to the sofa and watch TV during the day. And she'll be, or at evening when we're watching, she'll go get the brown blanket. And so this is the mystical ghost blanket, the one that got ripped off of us so many years ago. And it's warm and it's soft and I like it. Delaney Pearl Jones says, I cussed out the spirits who used to grab my hands and pull me up to do a video. They quit doing that. Well, you got to tell them, hey, I'm sleeping here. Don't pull me by the hands to do a video. It does, Dave Potter, Uncle Dave. That's why I like it. It's like an emperor's robe. I kind of like it. There could be some, couldn't you see using this to make a good costume? I mean, look at this thing. You could use this thing to make a decent costume. And that's just loose blanket. So make sure I don't miss my chair because I push it out with the big blanket. So hang on. Then I get the blanket and the wheels. All right. So how's that for scintillating radio so far? Carly Sagan says, I'm jealous of this blanket. I'd live in it all day, every day. Well, see, that's how I tempted Rainey into my life. I think this blanket, I love this blanket because I think this blanket had something to do with it. And I go, hey, come here. Look at this blanket. Look at this thing. And she was like, take me now. I'm yours. So I love this blanket. Anyway, it's one hell of an infomercial. And I haven't even stated the price or who makes it. This is the, I know what the brand is, but I was going to see if there was more information on the label. It is a Woolrich, of course. And there's nothing else on here. Well, here you go. Proof of my age. Sorry, everybody. Scintillating radio, I know, but that's the way it is. It's the way we roll. It's inspired by the outdoors. I don't know what that was 18 years ago. TV show, product line, or just the great outdoors inspired the blanket. And, of course, it had big pillows with it. I got the big matching pillows. They were these huge throw pillows, about that thick and huge and massive. And a couple of long ones, a couple of small ones, 2 big ones, and then the shams that went with this, which have all just disappeared over the years. I have no idea where any of that stuff is, but I still have my binky. So, nice Peanuts reference. There it is, yeah. So, tonight, we went out trick-or-treating. Flynn, of course, has gotten old enough at 13 where he goes with his buddies. And I like Flynn's costuming style. He's gotten away from, kid costume, Now he's into what I would consider more sophisticated theatrical costuming. If he's not doing his Jedi with his genuine Jedi robe and his Obi-Wan stuff, he's doing something from the Renaissance Festival. And so he went to school on Friday with his Renfest costume, and tonight he went out in his Jedi outfit with the lightsaber, of course, and the big boots, and he looks fantastic. And so then Rowan went out with her friends. So they had their group of friends. So I got two of my kids now gone off trick-or-treating with their friends instead of mom and dad. The only one left is, of course, Ellery. And Ellery, I don't know if she was mad because she couldn't go with her older sister because, they're older girls. They don't need the young girl. And they went off on their own and did their own thing. And so Ellie came with mom and dad. We walked her all around the neighborhoods. And it was very cool. I said to Rainey tonight, I said, this is how I remember Halloween growing up. And all through the years. And it doesn't seem to have been like this. Maybe was it a quarantine thing over the last few years? I didn't think everybody kind of ignored COVID to go trick-or-treating, but it was all through our neighborhoods, and we've got all the streets. None of them are straight. They all curve off in that direction and wrap around. You come back around, and every single street was filled with houses all lit up for Halloween and Halloween decorations. And there were kids everywhere, kids and parents, everybody walking around. There were hundreds of people out there. Now, it wasn't a crowd. It wasn't like walking through the lanes at Disney World or something like that. But all the families were out, and all the people that didn't have kids were the ones that were home with all their decorations, or mom took the kids out or dad took the kids out, and either mom or dad stayed home and gave out candy. There were bonfires in people's yards, and it was just festive, and it felt joyous walking around, and which is not a word you would naturally plug onto Halloween, at least the way we celebrate it. And so I think there's one mosquito in this house, and it resides in my studio, and it's here every day when I'm doing radio, because it's bigger now than it was last week. And I have to think there's not a bunch of mosquitoes in here. I've only ever seen the one. So that's why I keep waving at. So first Halloween after COVID time, says Etienne. And I hope I'm saying that right, brother. And yeah, this is the smoking robe for the captain's cabin, says Michelle Canham Free. So we're walking around, and it just felt nice. Everybody, we got stopped by more people in the neighborhood that they all know Rainey, and because she does scouts and she's out there, she does the school stuff. And hi, Rainey, all the moms are saying, and all the moms are then gathered, and they all start talking to Rainey, which I think is very cool for Rainey. And I didn't see any guys I know. And a couple of the women who know Rainey knew me. And so we all stood around and talked as our kids were walking along, as our kids are trick-or-treating. And so that was nice. The weather was nice. It was about 60 degrees Fahrenheit for those of you in the United States, not 60 degrees Celsius. If we're 60 degrees Celsius, we'd all have been out in our Speedos and our flip-flops. So those of you that have them, if you got them, wear them, Doug Stack. That's all I got to say. So it was a nice night. Ellery, on the other hand, was fixed like laser targeting. She was all in her costume, with her alien shiny costume and her blue hair and all of that. And she looked great, but she wouldn't even talk to me. We're out there and we're like, I go, hey. And I said, let's go down this side first. It's like she clenches her jaw and just like, I said, did I do something? And I said to Rainey, I said, is she mad at me about something? She goes, no, she just wants to get the candy. And that's what she did. She was like, zing, zing, zing. And she would come from one house and just like she was storming, walking, I'm walking here and she had a scowl on her face. It was like, bing, bang, next house, bang, next house. I'm going to cross the street. Well, why don't you go on this one first? Because it's closer before you cross the street. And I'd get glared at. And it's like, I'm going to the one across the street. Okay, we're here. So she had a good time, I think, though. She's mellowed up. She's lightened up since we went out trick-or-treating. Etienne says, also, even in France, families and Halloween Eves party a lot. Before COVID, Halloween was middle made because not our traditions here. Oh, I suppose we all borrow traditions from each other. Well, what I wanted to get into tonight for just a little bit, and it might have a little different twist on it than you might think it does. I wanted to talk about this whole Halloween coming from Samhain and the thinning of the veil. And the reason I wanted to talk about that was, how many times can you talk about the topic of Halloween during Halloween time? And you turn on any show, everybody's already talking about Halloween. You turn on the TV, it's Halloween. And I wanted to give it a little fresher twist. How often do we hear the phrase, it's the thinning of the veil? Because October 31st, according to Celtic tradition, was the time of the year when the veil between this world and the other world was at its thinnest. And it's mistiest, if you will. Mistiest. There you go. And so I wanted us to think about this whole Halloween Samhain, the thinning of the veil, and the idea that it's a time of magic, a time of mystery, and it was always a time for seeking out the divine, seeking out those who have gone on before us. Now, not in the traditional commercial sense. I mean, I didn't grow up in grade school in Minneapolis, and it was like, it's Halloween time. It's the time of the thinning of the veil, and where we look for our loved ones. And, I never heard that until I was an adult. Halloween was just a time to put on a costume and get candy. And so it's this time of year, this thinning of the veil time, the end of harvest. It's the leaves have all changed, and they're either colorful or the trees are bare. Most of the trees in our yard are bare. And we had those really bright maple trees, the bright orangey yellow, the bright red. We had 2 or 3 of each one we've got in our yard, and they're all pretty much bare. So you got all these reds and the yellows against some of the still barely green foliage that's left on the trees. And the air is so crisp and so clear, with the distant sense of burning wood, which is all over our area tonight. You smell that everywhere. People have the bonfires going in their yards. Some of them are roasting hot dogs. Some of them are, I got to tell you, it smells like apple. So there are people who are probably throwing apple and cinnamon into their fires. But you smell that overwhelming perfume of wood smoke everywhere, and I love that smell against the smell of the fallen leaves. And it's autumn tonight in all of its glory. It's opened up on us, and it's the time of Halloween. This is the time of the year, and the thinning of the veil between the worlds, and its contact with the other side, also known as the seasons of the witch. That's one thing it's also called. And so this is the time of harvest. It's the beginning of a longer, darker night cycle where we only have ourselves as company. Or do we? We were just talking tonight, and mark your calendars, folk, here in the United States. November 6th is the when we flip over daylight savings time. Remember, spring forward, fall back. We go back an hour on November 6th. And so it's going to be darker earlier, but then it's darker earlier in the evening, but the dawn comes later and later too as we get further away from the sun this time of the year. So the autumn season brings this time. For me, it's a time of introspection. There's reflection on our lives. We're no longer distracted by the summer with all of its activities, with all its parties, with all its bikinis and Speedos, and the bright sun and tans. Look at me, I'm already not tan. That's the Welsh, that's the Celt in me. I don't tan, I pinken, and then I go white again. And but this is also the time of the dark mysteries. It's the time for staring into the light of warm fires and watching the shape of the flames as they dance on the walls. As a society today, we celebrate Halloween as a child's holiday. It's the children's holiday. We bring out the dead or creatures from a different world in the form of witches and foam zombies and plastic vampire fangs and sheet ghosts and furry werewolves. And we dress up in costumes, and we, I never really bobbed for apples, even though that's a tradition, but some people do. They used to slice them up and bob for apples. And they give out candy all the while, making sure that we're having fun and not going too much into that other world. And by the way, when you think of bobbing for apples nowadays, when you're a kid and when the rare occasions where we actually did that, you don't think of all the saliva from other people that's in that pail of water. So I suppose COVID kind of killed bobbing for apples. So this is our only holiday with pagan roots that still remains a purely secular holiday. There's Christmas and Easter. They have pagan roots too, but the church took them over a long time ago, and they become religious holidays. Halloween's different. They tried to take it over too by declaring All Saints' Day. That's tomorrow. And so tonight is All Hallows' Eve. But somehow they were never really able to erase Halloween's pagan roots. Why do you suppose that is? Why do you think Halloween is still basically a very thinly veiled, play on words, for the thinnest veil time of the year where the veil's the thinnest, but it's a thinly veiled pagan celebration? Could it be that deep in the recesses of our minds, our genetic memories, if you will, we didn't want to let go of that real meaning of Halloween? Maybe I'm putting too much on that. Could it be that we love the idea of being able to contact a world beyond our own? To know that our loved ones who've crossed over are really, really, truly somewhere and are, in fact, still with us. And that we love the idea of being in contact with something supernatural. Now, of course, this would be a feeling you'd have if you're not so much ensconced into a particular set of faith beliefs. There's one faith, that obviously Christianity tells you, well, we'll see our loved ones again, so we don't grieve as those who have no hope. But at the same time, there's a lot of us. There are a lot of people out there who claim that as their faith belief, yet they still have this desire to be able to make contact with the past loved one. And we know that we love being scared on Halloween. Just look at the popularity of horror movies. We also really love Halloween as it's the second biggest grossing holiday for retailers next to Christmas. It's a moneymaker for retailers. But what is Halloween really? Where did it all come from? Why do we love it so much? And we already know that the term Halloween comes from the church's attempt at commanding and commandeering this pagan holiday into their own dogma so that they could make converts feel at home. It declared November 1st, All Saints' Day. And by the way, when you had the church at certain points in history, very early on in Christian history, the literalist Orthodox Church, you could be in fear of being put to death if you did not follow their teachings. And so people would follow, the Celts followed, but they made it more appealing. They said, how about some more flies with honey than vinegar? And they tried to appeal to these people. and these conquered people, if you will, at least ideologically. And so November 1st was All Saints Day or All Hallows Day, and October 31st became the eve of All Hallows Day or All Hallows Eve, or Ian, E-E-N. You could put an apostrophe in there if you want for where the V's taken out, Ian. So it's an old derivative of evening or eve and so on. So All Hallows Eve or evening became Hallows Evening, Hallows Eve, Hallows-een, Halloween. And because Halloween is such a purely pagan, traditionally pagan holiday, many Christians don't celebrate it at all or celebrate it in a Christian way. And this usually means that they don't acknowledge the other world or dress up as ghosts or vampires, monsters or witches or werewolves, especially witches. There's no fortune tellers among their children either. And they believe that this part of Halloween, the supernatural part, is evil. And more than just evil, it's evil. And so many churches have haunted houses, but their haunted houses don't contain zombies or Dracula, but drug dens and pregnant teenagers and cautions about this is what happens to you if you have unprotected sex when you stray from God's teachings. But you can really separate that other world from Halloween. Can you? Can you take out the supernatural from Halloween and still have Halloween? Yeah, the church eschews the paranormal, Etienne. And Sarah Yusuf says the Hallow Day is when the candy goes half price. There it is. That's the hallowed day. Yeah, tomorrow when you can buy all the costume stuff at half off. So Halloween was originally this festival celebrating the dead and the world of the supernatural. And the Celts used the term, and many pagans still do, Samhain. And it was a time of reverence for and contact with the dead. With all the stuff we talk about on this show, I would say that if you wanted to connect with somebody that had passed on, probably a good time of the year to do it is now. I've never specifically targeted Halloween for that type of thing, but this is the time to do it if you want to give that a shot. It was a time for reverence. It was a time for contact with the dead. It was a time to reap the crops that they'd sown in the year prior and to prepare for the dark night of the winter. And it's the new year for many pagans, especially witches or Wiccans. So Samhain was and is a time for reflection on the previous year and what you've done with your life. Did you know that? Did you ever think of that aspect of Halloween before? How many Halloween gatherings have we gone to where they say, Halloween, we're glad you're all here for this party, and this is the time when we're going to reflect on the past year and what we've done with our lives this year. It's a time of great magic. It's a time of great mystery. It's a time of reverence for the supernatural and for the other side. And it's considered the time when the veil between the worlds is at its very thinnest, and the dead can and do walk among us. I think of that now. It didn't happen at Halloween time. It happened at Passover. So I'm not trying to make a comparison. But remember in a biblical passage, one of the Gospels, it talks about when Jesus died on the cross. It says that around Jerusalem, the tombs were opened and the dead came out and walked among the living and testified about God. Now, there's nothing written in history about that other than the biblical account. Is that purely a faith story, or did it really happen? If it's in the book and you're a person of faith, if it's in the biblical account, you believe that it actually happened. But there is no historical reference for that. I'd love to find that. I'd love to find some historian that actually was there, saw it, and wrote about it. Or was it mythology that was built around the time of the death of Christ? But imagine that actually happening and the dead coming out can walk among us, do walk among us. In older times, extra places were set at the dinner table, or food and drink were set outside on the doorstep for the returning spirits to refresh themselves and to honor the home with their presence, because the veil, or the energetic and physic barrier between dimensions, was said to, I'm sorry, psychic, not physic. I was going to say physical and psychic at the same time, and then physic came out. So it's where the psychic barrier between the dimensions was said to be thinner at this time, and it allowed the living to have increased intuition and psychic abilities. It was a night for scrying. Have you ever scryed? Take a mirror, a flat polished mirror. One of the best I ever scryed with was John Ward. Etienne, you know John and Maria. John, the last time I was in Egypt, he had a highly polished black onyx disc that we used for scrying over at the Speas of Horemheb, which was very interesting times. So many people still perform divination rituals on Samhain for knowledge of the coming year. Crystal balls, fires are gazed into, tarot cards are spread, and runes are cast and interpreted. And it's truly a night for magic and contact with the other side and our spiritual nature. I remember with my own, yes, exactly, Etienne. Yes, the most lovely archaeologist couple in Egypt. And I remember one Halloween back again, just before I met Rainey. It was Reuben Fasthorse was at our house, and my kids were there. My older daughters, who were then very young, 10 years old, Rowan's age now, and there was a full moon on Halloween night, which was rare, and it was a crystal clear night. And it was nice outside, and out on the front porch. It was all open air up on the front porch with a roof over it. And all the moonlight was coming into the front porch. And I laid out my tarot cards to have them charge up in the light of the moon as the moon was still waxing full. And then just as it waxed its fullest, I pulled the cards all out and back in. So we pursue our spiritual natures. I think that Halloween is loved so much by us, and not just because it's really a fun day and a fun time, the dress up portion of it, the parties and the stuff we go to, but because it speaks to something that's inside of us that we've lost touch with. It's this missing part of who we used to be as humans. It speaks to that part of us that desires a reconnection with spirit and a communication with that which seems to be hidden from us or that we've lost. Now, Judeo-Christianity, Islam, they will say, I haven't lost that. I've got that. I've got it in other things. I get that. I understand that. But we're searching, always searching for the mystery of spiritual connection that we have lost somewhere along the way. I know even many Christians, proclaimed Christians, people who go to churches I went to, who were well known. Those people were still, if you got them, some of them, well, many of them, privately, they still had their questions, but they still also, some of them would come to me for tarot readings and things like that, which are supposed to be taboo in the church. We're all searching. We all still search. Even when we think we've found something, we still search. We want to have contact with our loved ones who've crossed over. We want to remember them. We want to honor them. We miss them. We want to be assured that they're in a good place. We're told they're going to a good place, but there's still that little bit of a doubt because we believe that by faith, but we're not always sure. We're not always certain of it. And we're still asking questions. We seek to understand that there's something beyond this life, some wonderful place that we go, and that we'll go there too when we die. We want that contact with God and with our divine helpers. We want that contact with the originator, the creator. We want to know that we're not all alone and that we're just alone. And that even when we have faith and it seems so quiet sometimes, coming from the divine, we ask those questions. Is there more? Is there something I'm missing? Is there something I'm not hearing or I'm not getting? So I got to ask this too. Why did a series of books and stories about a young boy named Harry Potter and his friends and their education as wizards go on to become the best-selling series of books in all human history, next to the Bible itself? Not to mention the phenomenal success of those movies. Why is our society fascinated now with vampires, ghosts, werewolves, Twilight, True Blood, The Vampire Diaries, ghost hunting shows, ghost hunters, ghost adventures, all the different ghost adventure shows that they do? All the haunted Scotland, haunted England, haunted Vermont, haunted whatever. The Bell Witch, crystal healing, divination. These are things that have become quite fashionable again these days, almost like in the Spiritist movement of about 120 years ago, 140 years ago, where these things can be purchased in a major chain retailer like Urban Outfitters. You can go to Urban Outfitters. Did you know that? Kayaking, canoeing, fishing, hunting, camping, not so much hunting, camping. And you can go in Urban Outfitters and find all your witch paraphernalia. So I believe that we're searching for something magic. We're searching for magic with a G-I-C-K. We're searching for miracles. We're searching for the mystery to be answered, to be opened up. We're searching for that connection with the divine. And the things that we believe exist in another realm. They're things we can't put our hands on or wrap our minds around fully because it's somewhere else. It's the realm of spirit. We know deep down that it's not supernatural. How many years have I been saying the supernatural isn't supernatural at all? The supernatural is the natural part of the universe. It's just the part we can't always experience. And so it's the most natural thing there is. And we're yearning to bring that part of spirit back to us. We've lost it in the age of reason that says that these things are just a part of our imagination, that, or in the church, telling us that it's all evil. And it's neither unreasonable nor evil to reclaim our spiritual self, our psychic self. It is what we must do in order to be whole in this universe, because the natural and the supernatural all go together. So it's true that the veil between the worlds is thin at this time of year, and that it's a good time to get started, but communion with the other side is not as difficult as you might think. It's just getting past the blocks that you have to doing it, and reawakening and remembering the natural ability that we all possess to make those connections. And once you reawaken your natural ability, the ability you had as a child, you'll be connected all the time. It's not as frightening as you might think, or as cursed as you might understand it to be. Connecting to the higher realms is simply a reawakening. It's a remembrance. When you remember something, you're putting a part that was lost back together with the rest to form the whole again. Something as simple as, if you haven't seen it, I don't know I think it was DreamWorks, it might have been Disney, might have been what's the one with the little lamp again? Imation, not Imation. You know what I'm talking about. The animated movie Coco, about the Mexican family and the little boy playing his music and going to the other world, because if you don't remember your ancestors, they will vanish and pass away on the other side. And so that was the whole movie was about that. Etienne says human minds under church control of good and sin, credulity of people non-educated in fear and believing to paranormal or non-national things, rational things, that they don't or that they can't explain or understand. And there's only a mild language barrier there because Etienne is over in France. But I get exactly what you're saying. So when you remember something, you're putting a part that was lost back together with the rest to form the whole. How many of us have had childhood imaginary friends? Many of us don't remember them. We see them more in our kids, or we hear stories of that with other people. How many of your children have imaginary friends or have had? Look closely at them. When they're speaking to or playing with their imaginary friend, many times you're going to find that it's not their imagination, and that if you allow it, you will be able to feel the energy of that being. Children do see and hear other beings. It's natural to them. I mean, if that scares you and frightens you for your kids, just be aware that that's a real thing. They have only recently come from the other side themselves sometimes. And so, not sometimes, all the time. Kids, if you believe that there is an eternity present, an eternity past, an eternity future, they've come from there. They only lose that ability when well-meaning adults tell them that it can't be so. Oh, it's not ghosts. So I have to tell my kids sometimes, just to keep them at peace. Sometimes, Dad, I heard this thing last night, and I just thought, it's the house bangs and pops and does things. And meanwhile, I'm wondering, okay, how long do I wait before I tell them that it possibly is something? And you can ask. But it's a frightening thing, too, when it comes to your cognitive awareness as opposed to your natural awareness. So it doesn't need to be Halloween for you to read, to study, to learn, or to go into nature and feel that the energies are there all around you already. You got to take time to reconnect with what's there. Protect yourself, but be connected. You could take a class on channeling, on psychic development, or contacting a loved one who's crossed over. Some people would bristle just hearing me suggest that notion. But find that part of yourself that you've lost, that's gone, that memory that's gone, that part of you that yearns for the contact with the spirit, indeed. And once you find it, you're never going to feel lost again. And I think maybe that is the big drive in many faith structures, is we find that reconnection. We connect with spirit, the one that speaks to us and the one that becomes the cornerstone and the hinge pin of our faith. David Castle says, you're programmed to believe you have limitations. That's how they stick your brain in prison. Remove the false belief systems, and you're going to have new options. That's it. You've got to disconnect many times from what we've been taught is the right way to do, live, and believe. Daniel Craig said, my imaginary friends didn't show up until college. I still retain one of them as my psychiatrist and legal counsel. There you go. I hope that's working well for you, Daniel. I know it has from your stories, but let's see. I've got to see what's looking at some of you. SexFine, new private dating chat. We can get rid of that. We'll just block that user. How about that? Put them in a timeout. Let's see. And they just come in here. It's nobody, I think, cognitively aware that they're doing. I think it's all set up to automatically go in and hit certain sites. Sarah Yusuf says, it's suggestive that the want of connection makes one believe that we once had something and was lost, like fall of angels and things like that. Yeah, maybe so. Um, let's see. I want to see what else you guys have to say. We've got what have we got? About 4 or 5 minutes left to this show before we leave the radio station, and then we go into the chat room over on YouTube with just the captain's cabin. We're no longer broadcasting at that point. So you'll have to join us for that if you haven't done that already. Yeah, at 9:58, we are out from the radio station. It's now 9:51, so we got about 6 minutes before we got to start rolling end credits. And so let's hit this up. What are you all having to say about this? Matthew Sainsbury said, "The Age of Enlightenment, a skeptical view." Michael Shermer from Skeptic Magazine is a skeptic, but you told me he had an unexplained event in his life. Right, Matthew. That's we did a little show on that a couple of weeks ago. How even the skeptic, and most skeptics I find, you got one or two different kinds of skeptic. The kind that is a denialist. I'm going to deny that anything like this exists. And the other is the one that says, I'll believe that, but I've got to see powerful evidence to believe that. Show me. Or go look for it. Now, will the skeptic go look for something that he thinks falls outside his particular belief? I have a friend who's for many, many years, 30 years. He's a skeptic, but he's also an atheist. So he's not going to go looking for God. He's not going to go looking for the supernatural. He always says, well, you show me. And what did he say? He said something like once, a few years back, he said something, I spoke out loud to have Satan and his demons torment me and my family in our home. Something to that effect. And he said, I'm putting it to the test. And he says, you know why I can say that? He says, because I don't believe anything will happen. And so that's fine. If he wants to try that and run the risk of invoking something, he may find out the hard way. So far, he hasn't. Is that because his skepticism has closed off his connection? I don't know. Yeah, it sounds dumb, doesn't it, Sean? If you're talking to me, not answering somebody else. Open your eyes, says Etienne. Yes, Da Vinci said that like Einstein. Open eye. That was for me, Sean. Yeah, that is dumb. I think it was a really dumb thing. He's my friend. I would play EVPs for him, and he would deny being able to hear them. I just hear noise. It's like, dude, are you really? And he's an artist. I said, let that creative side of your mind listen for a second and see if you hear something. If nothing else, I don't hear anything. But there it is. That's the way some people react toward this stuff. So, how about you? What do you think of Halloween? What do you think of the crossing over and speaking to those who have gone on before? Do you see that as invoking the dead? Do you see that as witchcraft in the darker sense? Or do you see that as something that is a thing that we've forgotten how to do, to make connection with our ancestors? I was interested, and I talked about this on the radio show a while back, and this isn't fresh in my mind. It just popped in my head. But when I was out in Utah, your Mormon capital of the world, and we were selling to residences in neighborhoods. So we went to church many Sundays, the Mormon church out there. And they all had their like little local churches. They didn't all meet in one big temple in downtown Salt Lake City. There's every square mile, I think, had a little church with a steeple on it, just looked like a church in the neighborhood. And they were very welcoming, and they were very nice people. They understood that I was of a different faith persuasion. They still welcomed me, They allowed me to talk in class, to ask questions, to expound on things the way I do. And one thing I found was that I never knew about them was their belief in the ancestors. Going to temple, I think, is the idea of going and reconnecting with your ancestors. That's very big across many different, and I brought it up in the class. I said, this sounds to me, I said, pardon me, it's not a negative. I said, I've seen that in a lot of comparative religions and even paganism around the world. And they said, yeah, it's got some of the same qualities. It's that the connection with your ancestors. I thought that was very intriguing because I didn't know about that. Now, it didn't make me want to become Mormon, but it made me understand what they were, what they believed, and what they were about. And so it's not as foreign as you might think, this connecting with the dead, connecting with those who have gone on before. You look at the Day of the Dead in Mexico. Look at La Muerta. She's like a goddess, I guess, a spirit. The Day of the Dead in Mexico. And that belief system of staying in touch with the ancestors. It's all very interesting stuff. So I encourage you to not look askance at it, not to go out and just try stuff, but to get reconnected with what your spirituality might be and the things that you've lost. And on that note, we've got to say goodbye to the good night to the radio audience. And so I want to thank you for being here, radio audience. You can come and join us over on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. And you can see the Captain's Cabin, our after show, and chat with people over there. So in the meantime, radio audience, live long and prosper.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid Radio Program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad so he can take me to Disneyland.
Well, greetings, everyone. Welcome to this, the captain's cabin. So swab me decks and climb the mizzen mast, mate. This is the captain's cabin, so dubbed, aptly named by the listeners of this show for the time we spend after the show, the post show. It's a time when you can call in if you'd like, talk about stuff. We can talk about the show that we just did. We can talk about anything you want, so long as it's within reason. Like my friend Ken Ballos says in his morning coffee with KB in the castle by the roadside every morning. He says you can talk about anything you want as long as you don't abuse anybody else. And he's got a whole spiel. I should have it memorized by now, and I don't. But that's the way we are here as well. So come on. As a matter of fact, I'm going to send out an invite. If you want to talk about the things we talked about on the show or have some other things to talk about, you can click that link or copy that link, and that'll get you right into the backstage of this show. And Etienne, I don't know. I've known Etienne for several years now, really, when you think about it. He knows John Ward and Maria Nilsson, my archaeologist friends in Egypt, very well. And Etienne, I was supposed to go out to Sweden for the month of November, and we just couldn't make that work. But John and I are finishing writing a book, and it would be our second book together. And so I was going to go out there and finish that, and it just turned out to be not a very good financial time of the year to be able to do that. So it's me, c'est moi. Yes, the only one. So c'est moi. Those are some of the only French words I know, other than ho or mais oui, or as we got Etienne when we got that EVP, John Ward and I and Rocky Stucci in that house, and somebody said something. There were two voices. They were spirit voices because it wasn't us. And they were talking. They were echoing off the walls on the recording, just like our voices were, but it wasn't us. And one of them said something that we haven't been able to make out yet. And the other voice said, Mandu. Just like that. Mandu. Because it was commenting on something we were saying. We didn't hear it until we played back the recording. Mandu. So anyway, I don't know much French, but I've known Etienne. He knows John and Maria. You did a magazine once, and you had us. You were still publishing a magazine, and we put in several things in your magazine for John's and my book when it came out, as well as the Paradigm Symposiums and so on. So I've known Etienne for a long time. And he says, it's me. I can hear him saying it. Or as you would say in French, c'est moi. It's me. So, Kendall Blanchard, good evening. Good to see you. Are you home now, brother? Or are you still out biking around the country and revisiting places? Let's see. What'd you say, Etienne? I deceiver. I'm not sure what that is. I missed that. Here's Sarah Yusuf. Sarah, welcome to the program. How you doing?
Merry Paranormal Christmas, everybody.
Merry Paranormal Christmas. There it is.
And happy Halloween.
Did I take down? I thought I had our banner up. You know, I guess it's not really the Captain's Cabin banner. It's the
old one.
it's the old one. It's the Intrepid radio banner. I'll take that down. So how you doing tonight? Did you have a good Halloween?
Well, no kids actually came over, so it was pretty quiet. So I'm still in the middle of the boonies, but so I had a bag of candy. So
you ate a bag of candy?
No, I didn't eat a bag of candy.
I didn't go trick or treating. I just sat home and ate candy. So
yeah, I didn't even dress up this year, but yeah.
Nice.
I mean, Halloween for me over the years is just kind of like it's lost its meaning. I mean, I'm having like a Charlie Brown Christmas moment when it comes to like Halloween.
Yeah.
But
you got a ghost sheet with several holes cut in it, and you just get rocks.
Right.
I get it. Charlie Brown Halloween.
Right. But going back to what you were saying earlier, it's, like with a lot of different other concepts in the paranormal, even with the seasons, it's about being in that liminal state, that in-between state. So, from my own, research and, discussions and stuff, what I've had with people, when they say like a development of psychic abilities, it's like or when people go through meditation experiences, astral travel, they're, you're trying to get yourself into a certain mental state, an in-between state between, active consciousness and the unconscious, to form that connection. So, I mean, culturally, if you, put aside all the colonialism and, the oppression of, groups fighting with each other, there seems to be suggestion that, even with the Christian adopting, pagan religious times and, days and acquiring those, yes, there was also that aspect of making it easier for new converts to come into the religion, where it was, slightly modified, but, it's more familiar.
Yeah.
But with liminal states, your fall or autumn is you're transitioning from a place of, summer and life to idleness and death. Everything's in the death and dying. And then when you look at the other one in spring, you see concepts of, resurrection, the power of Easter.
Yes.
The power of Easter and all that. So, I mean, there's, even without the Christian aspect of it, there's beliefs that, are overlapping. The meaning is changed over the years, for its own purposes and uses. But there's something that people apply to that's innate, that it has to be something basic, for everybody to understand, that it seems to have persisted for so long, thousands of, or,
and that's very interesting. And we used to talk a lot about our genetic memories and how we have lost. You listen to guys like Graham Hancock or Randall Carlson, and many of these speakers in that category, looking into our past, they'll talk about how humanity seems to have lost memory of things in general, without getting into a specific proper definition of what they talk about. It would be we've forgotten the way things were. We've forgotten how we once existed. We've forgotten the gods, if you will. We've forgotten, for lack of a better word, the spirit realm. We've forgotten how things work. And he thinks, many of these pundits think, that we're regaining that slow but sure as we open things up.
Yeah. And some people claim that, that few people have been able to retain some of that knowledge and stuff from before birth or whatever, whether they call them, savants or indigo children, or, just having those remnants. And like I was saying earlier in the chat, it's, we came from a place that was, possibly having that entire oneness with God, and then we've, entered into this life. It's kind of like our own version of fall, until we transition out of this state back to, hopefully, back into that oneness with God and all that, or wherever we're supposed to be going, because we don't know.
Right.
Faith. But it's also, I know, it's also interesting in talking about, not going back to the pagans for a second. It's not just adopting of the times and stuff. They new churches, when they would form, their missions and monasteries, they would do them right on top of the pagan sites of power. So there's something to it. I mean, not just because of the location, because it's convenient, but there's something that, with ancient sites of power, you were either trying to control and manipulate that energy or prevent anybody else from getting access to it.
It was
it's
interesting that when there was always this question of when you go to a lot of these sites in the Holy Land related to Judeo-Christianity, that all these sites, there's these big churches or not cathedrals so much as chapels and churches and ornate buildings marking the spots. And a lot of people say, well, I don't think that was the real spot. It's just the traditional spot. Yet you go back as late as the 300s and you had Helena, the mother of Constantine, the Emperor Constantine, who went on basically archaeological missions looking for, not as sophisticated as we think of it nowadays, but looking for holy sites, they called in the Holy Land. Where was the site of Golgotha, where Jesus was hung on the cross? Where was the tomb? Where was the nativity? Where was this? Where was that? And she went all throughout the Holy Land finding these sites. And then you find that even further back, you say, well, how does she know that this was the site of... Pardon me, I got an itch in my throat right now. Trying to make that go away. And she would build her chapels and her memorials on sites that had, by word of mouth, been those sites 300 years earlier or 250 years earlier. And then you find like her Church of the Holy Sepulchre. No, it was I think of Golgotha, Calvary. That church was built on a site where not Hadrian, Vespasian, trying to think of which emperor it was, who about 50 to 75 to 100 years after the time of Christ, I've got my dating is way off there, but he built on the site because it was supposed to be the holiest site to Christians. He built the temple to Apollo there.
Right.
And on that site, so you had the actual site, which was a site of execution. Then you had a temple built there to keep the Christians from building their own temple there. And then, of course, a couple hundred years later, you have Helena come along and under the power of the Emperor of Rome, took down the temple of Apollo and said, this is the site. And so did she have the actual site? Probably, because of where the temple of Apollo was built to cover up the site. So like you were saying, there's something you said that triggered all of that. I could have said it more succinctly, I think, than I did. But you have all these ancient sites.
Yeah.
So all these ancient sites that you can probably have a fairly systematic archaeology to them that would reveal what was there before. So
yeah, you would have to look at the actual, not even just the biblical history, but you have to track it back through even the local histories because of where things going and where things originated. Like we were talking the other day about the Celtic
yes,
the Celtic gods and how the etymology of names has evolved out through through their tribes and locations and whatnot. So
right.
So it's kind of like a ripple effect, or I forgot what. There's a science that I forgot the name of the science, but where you have an event and like word of it just ripples out. It's in a way, so you can kind of trace it all the way back, which I think people they try to do to the best of their ability and what tools they have. So yeah.
I see we have Uncle Dave here. Let's bring him in. Uncle Dave. Uncle Dave.
I'm here.
There he is. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm good.
How are you, Sarah?
Good. Well, better this today than I was last week, but that's a whole other
She
issue.
spent Halloween trick-or-treating in her living room and eating a bag of candy.
Oh, that is so cool.
Wow, I wish I had time to do that.
Not even, I didn't even get to eat the candy. I was babysitting my niece, so
that
she's
figures.
running around like a little hellion. So
I brought candy over to Scott's house yesterday.
Yes.
I opened a bag. I stick it out in front of Rowan and I say, what do you say? Please? I was thinking, trick or treat, but
Treat.
and then she
Gotta
went,
be specific with these kids some days.
yeah. And then she goes, oh, trick or treat. And then I held
Trick
the bag out to her, and she goes, I don't want any candy. Okay, fine. You're a weird kid. You're a weird kid.
No, she wants things done her way.
Her way, yeah.
And if you don't do them her way, there is hell to pay.
Yeah.
It would be like making a sandwich for my kid, Sarah, and everybody listening. Making a sandwich for Ellery. I've got to get thorough instructions. I've learned. I've been trained because Dad, make me some toast. Okay. What do you want on your toast? You want jelly on it? Yes. And so I'll make toast and I'll put a little butter on the toast to keep the bread from getting hard and crunchy. And then I'll put jelly on it.
Which is the way I would do it.
I'll bring her a plate. She's watching cartoons or something. It's the morning, and bring her a plate. And then she'll look at it and she'll go, this is too dark. Now, it's not burned or anything. I like my toast just so the bread is warm, not crunchy. And you put butter on it. I asked for jelly. And I said, excuse me? I said, I've always made toast that way. Well, I don't like butter on my toast. I said, you just had butter on your toast yesterday. Yeah, but not with jelly on it too. And so now when she asks for toast to be made, she'll say things like, and I've gotten to where I ask now, and she's very specific. I want one piece, lightly toasted, one piece with butter, one piece with jelly. And then I need it cut in quarters. There's times
and then she puts them together and makes a sandwich.
And then she puts them all together and makes a sandwich. And I've done it where I've cut them in diagonals, the slice of bread, where I've cut it in half, and she won't eat it because it's not in quarters. And I'm like, and then the day will come, I'll go, I'm onto this. I cut these in quarters. Guess what happens?
I
didn't want quarters today. I wanted half. Cut at an angle. And now that sounds like precocious, spoiled, rotten little turd and a half, doesn't it? Which, it is.
Well, I mean, you are lucky that, they are getting to the age where they can do minor tasks themselves. So,
yes.
I mean, just
I said, that's what we've done. If you want toast, by all means, there's the bread, there's the toaster, there's the peanut butter, the jelly, the butter, the honey, the whatever you want to put on it. Have that, kid. And so that's what we've learned to do. You got to make your own. So there it is. But anyway, do you realize I'm the only one that shows my face? I'm not getting on you, Sarah. There's two people that are in the chat room. I'm trying to see who they are, or I'm sorry, waiting. Everybody's got an icon except me. So.
Oh, and to answer Sean's question earlier about the Great Pumpkin, I actually wrote a paper about belief in the paranormal and using the Great Pumpkin as the thing. So yeah, he's totally right about. Nice. I mean that's also a Halloween tradition for me. Is I always watch the Great Pumpkin. So.
Hey, Professor Bauer, you're not an icon.
Well, I heard you bitching about being the only face up there, and I thought, well, I've got a face for radio, so I'll pop in.
Well, let me amend my statement. You are an icon. You're just not a graphic icon. There you
go. Yeah. Well, everybody's got to have something to do. I tell you what, I dressed up as a guitar-playing geezer geek, and I sat in my chair and ate Cheetos. in my shorts. So
You know, that's a lot like what Sarah did. She sat at home and had candy. Oh, wait, I keep misinterpreting that. You didn't have the candy. Is that right?
I watched my niece run around like a hellion after eating candy.
There it is.
Dehydrated mandarin oranges.
Oh yeah, those
there
are
it
good.
is. Dehydrated mandarin
You dip those in
oranges.
chocolate?
I just eat them straight, but you can dip them in chocolate.
Yes.
You
But
know,
the
you
whole
can
point of eating
soak those
dehydrated
in-
mandarin oranges is to not eat candy.
Can't you soak those in like gin or vodka?
Oh, you can.
Oh,
But again,
Dave's like, oh, you can.
I do have to recommend the nice ready whipped cream cans.
Oh yeah.
Since I stopped drinking and dropped out all of my sweets, I used to eat ice cream all the time and chocolate chip cookies and all the good stuff. And I'd cut all that out, so I have had no treats. So I picked up a 3-pack at Sam's Club. They got a nice for $8 and these great big cans.
Yeah.
And so if I get my sweet tooth on, I just pick up a can and squirt 3 or 4 of them in my mouth, and I'm good. I highly recommend it.
There you go. I guess that's one way of tackling that problem. I just get a can of spray whipped cream that I
Secret world of adults.
Yeah.
Do whatever
since
you want.
it's Halloween and we're talking about candy,
Yeah.
Best and worst.
I had this joke come across me the other day, and mother gets called to the principal's office, and principal says, "Well, we caught your daughter in the restroom eating candy." She goes, "Well, that seems highly unlikely. My daughter doesn't like candy." And then the principal says, "Send the young lady in." And the door opens and this girl comes in and she goes, "Well, see, that's not even my daughter." And she goes, "Ma'am, that's candy."
Oh, nice. Yeah. Ching. Hi, Sarah. Yeah. She says.
Hey.
Well, we got Matthew Sainsbury and Pearson Castile waiting in the wings. They've got something to say. Let's bring them both in at the same time. Boom, boom.
Right.
Hey, Pearson, and hey, Matthew. How you doing?
Hi, good night, everybody. Good night, Bar. Good night, Sarah. Good night, everyone. Good night, Potter, Scotty. Well, I enjoyed the conversation you had with Sarah there earlier concerning the situation with, with how things were built on top of the older civilizations. Because even the word pagan is a Latin word, come from the word paganus, which means just country dweller. But when Christianity became orthodox, they make it into something like, oh, them is pagans, they're bad people, something like that, So it shows you the use of language and how language has been used as weaponized on people too as well. Because even when you watch documentaries, and you even hear the word pagan, it has like a negative feeling to it, So I was doing language, over time.
Matthew, you can tell Matthew's calling from a tropical Caribbean island. Are we hearing birds in the background?
That's crickets. More crickets. It's night right now. It's crickets.
Oh, crickets. Okay.
They having crickets. Yeah, because I heard Sarah talk about. I think it was I don't know if it was France, but if you look at the city of Paris, there's a theory that Paris is probably. I think Paris used to be a place that was dedicated to ISIS or something in the Roman era or something. Some people think Paris is a phrase to that too. Yeah, because even the area my father, he believed that if you go to Jerusalem today, there is a car park and there's a rock that looks like a skull, and you look at it, you see like eye sockets and everything. He believed that was actually more the spot where Jesus was crucified, rather than the church of Holy Sepulchre. Yeah, that Constantine's mother
doesn't really fit any historical records.
You don't think so?
No, because I think the distance it is from the city is one of the problems.
Okay.
And stuff like that, and that there is no traditional stories attached to that place. It's just one guy looked up out of his hotel or driving down the road one day and said, "That looks like a skull, that formation, on that bluff."
Yeah.
And it was impractical. And so the place of the skull was called that for the deeds committed there, not because it resembled a skull.
Oh, uh-huh.
So that's just thoughts on that.
Golgotha, yeah.
I tend to. We were talking about that site almost 40 years ago when I was in seminary, and
Okay.
just saying that site probably is not the traditional location, because it would probably be inside the current day city walls, because Golgotha was outside the city walls back in the 1st century, but those city walls are long engulfed by the current city. And, so
Jerusalem went through a lot too, because after the Romans destroyed the temple and everything and demolished the whole place, I think it was Roman Emperor Hadrian. He actually renamed the place Aelia Capitolina, and in fact, the land of Judea, he changed the name to Palestine after Israel's enemies, the Philistines. So that's why the word Palestine came into the linguistic language there, you see. So it's a big thing, yeah. Because even when Constantine, Constantine was no sweetbread, because Christians tend to Hellenize him as a saint and so, but he do some very ruthless stuff. This guy murdered his wife, his sons, and things like that. But Helena, some say that Helena took the trip to Jerusalem to like a pilgrimage of penance for what her son was doing, his personal life. So she found a lot of these places like the Church of Holy Sepulchre, because there's a story. I think there's a guy who was sick in Jerusalem, and she said that she found this cross, relics of the true cross, and she tried different crosses, and then this particular one, she touched on the person that was sick, and then he was miraculously cured instantly, and that's how she built.
So the story goes,
yeah. Constantine was no darling. Yeah,
it's all interesting stuff. I love the study of that stuff to find out what's what and what's so. And I actually saw a paranormal show today. I was eating lunch and I turned it on, and I really enjoyed it. Professor Bauer and others, if you've heard of Jack Osborne, Ozzy Osbourne's kid.
Portals to Hell?
I've seen Portals from Hell. That's been out a couple of years, and they did a new season this last season. But no, he's got a new one. I think it's Jack Osborne Homecoming or something England. Like.
Yeah,
I think it's called Homecoming.
Yeah.
He said, I've been doing paranormal investigations in the United States for 20 years now, and 10 years, whatever it was. And he said, I thought it's time to go back to my hometown in England, where I was born, and look around there. And they did this tavern, a tavern that's over 1,000 years old. What's that?
British taverns are the best because, like you said, you can get a pub that's 1,000 years old.
I would love to. In Nottingham, there is a pub called Ye Old Trip to Jerusalem, is the name of the pub, and it was frequented by. They said one of their famous patrons was, back in the early days of the pub, Richard the Lionheart. So was said to have stopped at that pub. And it's all built into the caves below what is now the palace, the old palace in Nottingham. And so it's a very interesting place. And I would love to go do an investigation in a place like that.
Yeah, so fascinating.
It'd be very interesting.
Because I know that there's a pub, I think it's in England, where they had a chair called Busby's chair. It's a chair that actually have a curse on it, because a guy called Busby, he was hanged, and he made a comment by saying that anyone who sits in my chair may sudden death come to that person. And let me tell you, I saw it on some mysteries. Every person that sat in that chair, they got in car accidents and all types of strange deaths. And they have it now in a museum where it actually raised chair up off where no one can sit on it anymore because it's cursed. I was saying to myself, I should get rid of it altogether.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, I think that'd be about the time I remove the chair. So.
Yeah, Busby's chair. Yeah.
You would have to be careful with that, because I mean, even the destruction of objects can just release energy out into the
there's that big
environment. That's why they say never burn Ouija boards.
Right. Well, thanks, Matthew. I appreciate your input tonight, brother.
Thanks.
Talk to you soon. Pearson, how you doing?
Well, not too good actually. I'm a little
Uh-oh.
freaked out because of an occurrence that literally just happened probably 15 minutes ago. And it's
Oh.
really got me a little freaked out because, so for some backstory, a couple days ago, I took a flash drive and I put it in my computer, and I have a lot of country music that I downloaded onto this flash drive. And I bought a new Victrola record player. I got it for Christmas about a year ago, and it's got an option for USB flash drives to play the music to it. So I like to, do that when I go to sleep. Well, I was laying down to go to bed, and there was a weird pause in between songs, and it was really odd. And the pause just kept going for about 10 seconds, and then this very creepy, distorted audio started to play, and I can't even recognize it as it's got a very, very, very deep voice, like a growl type sounding voice.
Yeah. What did it say?
It's unintelligible. Like it's very. Here, I'll play you some part of it. This is what it played, and the odd thing is when I went back on the computer, because I just did this a minute ago, I was wondering if a file was corrupted. I went through all 100 files, just skip through them real quick. Every file is working. There's not any files that are messed up. There's nothing wrong on the drive that I've been able to find. No viruses, no nothing. And this is what it sounds like. Now, I don't know how
That's
well
interesting.
That sounds like
Shoot,
the dinosaur music in Jurassic Park.
It does. It does.
as it sounds like whispering in the background. It probably isn't audible through the microphone.
Yeah.
But it's very odd because there was two of them that popped up that I've been able to find scrolling through on the record player, and I can't find anything wrong with the files or anything. But one of them, it's really hard to explain. It sounded like laughing. Like the closest thing I could think is it sounded like something laughing, and I got a very. It may just be me being a paranoid, person that
Sure.
has
Sure.
creepy stuff on the mind. But I had a very weird feeling from it, and my instinct, my natural instinct, was immediately turn it off, turn it off. There's something not right about it, and this one doesn't really bother me as much. But the one before that I can't find now, literally, there was a visceral fear with it. I don't know. I just had the weirdest feeling.
Interesting.
Have you tried playing the USB on the computer to actually play the USB on the computer and it was working okay?
Yeah, I went through everything on the computer. There was not any issues with any files. There wasn't any files I couldn't find. And I went there twice, and then on the record player, and the files are just almost like popping up. It seems like between songs. Like I'll go back and forth between a song, and then it'll vanish, and then it'll come back. It's weird.
Yeah. Have you tried any other other types of music or other USBs with the player?
Yeah,
And it was okay?
Actually.
Yeah.
I plugged in another drive, and it has about 10 songs on it. I haven't really put very much on it. Still working on a playlist, and no issues there on that one. But I hadn't gone through the rest of them because I was a little squeamish, because that was right after I heard the first file. And the second one I discovered, I was muted a second ago backstage, on the mute, and I discovered this one here. I haven't listened to the full audio on this one, to be honest. But what was weird is it's odd because I don't think the songs, and here's why. Like, there isn't a voice all the way through. Like, a song, like, the audio files seem to be like 15 seconds long to like 20 maybe, but there is no like voice through the beginning of them, and then like there's a voice for 10 seconds and then it goes away. Like, it's a very weird phenomenon. I've never seen anything like it in my life, to be honest with you.
Pearson,
And
what was where were you at? What was can you describe the physical environment you were in when you recorded this?
you mean when I was when I put the music on the computer? You mean?
Well, no, when you got that sound that you just played, were you always in the same place, or what was this environment you were in?
Yeah, I've had the player in my room, and like I didn't notice any weird feelings up until then. I woke up, and I don't even know if I woke up because I heard something or something just woke me up. And I went over there, like I said, there was a pause. I kind of just like snapped awake. There was a pause.
So you were in your bedroom, or
Yeah, I was in bed. I was getting ready to lay down. I had put the drive into listen, and I was half asleep, and I woke up to this pause, and it was probably a 20 or 30-second pause, which is not characteristic for the pause between songs. And I just started getting that. But the first one, I had woken up when I heard the first note of that. I was like, what is this? I didn't remember putting the song in here, but I, kind of thought to myself, maybe I did, and I just don't remember. But
so you had music playing, and you were in between sleep and awake, and there was a gap of around 20 seconds that you noticed that made you stop and notice it, right?
yeah, there was.
And then when did that sound happen?
When I was, which I don't even like saying it because I'm still in the spot. But I got out because I'm in a wheelchair. Keep in mind, I'm wheelchair bound. I got out of bed, got in my wheelchair to go see if it had maybe paused or if there was just something wrong. And I got halfway across the room, and then it started with a note, and I was like, what is this? I'm going over here, and then the voice, starts once I get my hand to the record player. That's when the voice starts, and of course I hit the button to turn it off because I was quite alarmed, and still am a little alarmed by the first one because it sounded like rapping. Like, the only thing I can think is like a very like distorted laugh. But
and what was playing the music? What kind of device was it? Was it a CD player, a computer?
You said it was a Victrola with USB capability.
Victrola.
Yeah, it was
a modern one though.
Modern, because it's got a USB in it too.
Yeah, it was a brand new modern Victrola. I've played music with USB before, never had a problem. And like, I had up until last night and never had a problem. The player was turned off all day. All my stereo equipment was off. There hasn't been any electrical surges that I know of. It's very weird, and it's a little creepy to me because I don't know. It felt very negative in the room. Like, I know this sounds like somebody just being paranoid, and it likely is, but
Well,
no, I don't think so. I think what's happening, at least from what you've described, is that Victrola and or the USB device that you had plugged into it picked up some kind of disturbance in the force, a frequency that interfered with the electronics and the sound, because the sound that you played was a very low frequency, and typically you'll hear two registers of sound when there's some kind of frequency interference that's electronic in nature. You'll hear either a high static or you'll hear a low rumble. Rarely do you find like a hum that, feels more like a voice. But it sounded like there may have been some kind of frequency interruption, and there might have been a carrier wave or something that, and I'm just trying to explain it from a physics perspective. Supernaturally, it could have been exactly what you think that you may have experienced, something that had a particular intent, an identity, some, more of a form than just a frequency interruption. But it sounds to me like there was something electrical from electromagnetic at a minimum, some frequency interruption in those devices. And the closer you got to it, that's when you started to hear the voice, right?
Yeah, and I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I'm not even playing at this point. The minute you was talking about, you had literally just said electromagnetic interference, and I swear to you, I'm not playing when I say this. I just heard, it sounded like somebody going, like a female voice sounded like it went right in my left ear, like right above my record. I mean, right above it, right here beside me to my left, right above this record player. I swear to you, I just heard a whisper, and I don't know that it's sure. It's
What
kind
did
of
the voice? You said the voice sounded female. Did
Interesting.
it say anything?
It sounded like it was very like it grew in strength. It went from silent to like it was angry, or like it was. I think it was a female voice, but like, I'm gonna be honest with you. There's an energy behind me right now, and I notice it, and I can feel it because it notices me, and it's there. Like, it is undeniably there. Like, it's
Have you encountered this energy before? Do you think it's something that you've spoken with before, or that's communicated with you before? Is this a whole brand new type of thing going on?
I try not to acknowledge it, but I have noticed an energy around me here. Right, well, in this room over by my closet, I know that sounds stereotypical, but over by my closet, I have noticed an energy and like like, for an example, you'll be in the middle of the room and you'll just freeze because it feels like someone's right there. Like, it is really spooking me out, and I'm kind of curious. I'm not sure I should play the rest of the audio, but I'm kind of tempted to. I don't know. It's what do you guys think? Do you guys think I should?
I'm okay. Play it. I'd like to hear it. But are you afraid that you're letting something into your place there by playing it?
I think it's all whatever's here. It's here already. Like
It's already there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's here. I don't know.
I'm all okay with you playing it. I wouldn't mind hearing it and seeing what you got going on there.
Let's see. There's the voice. Very audible. It's very. See, now it's more deep. Oh, that sounded like a. Okay, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop that.
That sounds
You want to stop
electronic
it?
to me.
Okay.
That sounds yeah.
What, Sarah? What were you
It
saying?
sounds electronic, like
It
an
does.
electronic sound, like a tone to me. But considering, what's going on and what you're happening as you're in the moment right now,
Mhm.
if there is something that is, trying to interact or scare you, we just need to control your energy, and you need to do what you need to do based on your faith, or whatever faith you have, or try to calm yourself down. If it's bothering you, then right now, then
By
don't
all
play
means,
it.
yeah, don't.
Yeah. So, and
Was
whatever you
this
have to clear the energy of the room. What you
was this
feel like-
machine brand new? Was it used?
Um,
Candle lasts?
Oh, it was definitely. See, it was brand new. And
Okay.
this could be a coincidence, or it may not be. I got a brand new keyboard today, a piano keyboard, and it was from a church. It wasn't plugged into the wall or anything. It's standing over here behind me. It wasn't from a church. I mean, it was from a church, from what I've been told. I didn't notice anything from it, but I don't know. That would be just pure speculation on my part, I guess. But I tell you, I'm kind of doing what you had talked about here, Sarah. Kind of pushing the field of energy away from me, and declaring it not to be around me because
It's gonna, if it's negative, it's gonna feed on fear and anxiety.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
yeah. So, but I mean, for all we know, it could be something in the wiring in the Vitrola box that inadvertently created a form of ghost box.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, it could be that. It could be, what was it that Mark Coltis was telling us a few weeks ago? That really anything that can be digitized, anything electric can create the same effect that you get with a ghost box. Even sounds outside, sounds in bird song. I'm thinking of an
Well,
example, but a flock of birds, and you can hear something in that. All of those things can be used for messaging.
I think what unsettles me, and when I really think back on it, is it sounds like the deep voice I caught in the EVP years ago. The one EVP I caught, I don't remember if I talked about this, but it sounds that, I don't know, the first one anyway sounded very similar. It was a deep voice like that, but it was more like, it wasn't tone like the first time, and it was more,
It's
it
triggering a
sounded
connection.
more.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I don't want to speculate on what it could be, because the idea, I think I know exactly what it could be, is what I'm getting at, because I think this feels way too similar to what was in my old house. Like,
interesting. Well, do you have somebody that you can talk to that can come over and take a look at it? Somebody that you can rely on to give you some good information about it? Might be worth having somebody come over and check it out with you. Somebody that understands these things, and might not be a bad thing to do.
And for your own peace of mind, just you or have somebody come in and do a clearing. Just clear the energy out if there's something there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
that's what I do, Pearson.
Say some prayers before you go to bed at night, and then take care of it in the morning. It's like we were saying earlier. You were saying earlier, Scotty. Today is the day. The thinning of the veil.
Yeah. Exactly.
And Mark, and what Mark was saying when we had that really interesting conversation when he was here, that EVPs carry on a carrier wave of through the frequency range that we hear. So could something be trying to communicate through using your music as a carrier wave?
And like what I was talking about earlier tonight, we've lost touch with our ability to understand these things. And maybe it's just opening up and trying to understand what you're getting. And so there it is.
But I mean, as of now, from what we understand of the paranormal, it's energy. So, and right now, especially with your emotional state, energy, there's emotional energy, there's spiritual energy, there's energy through electricity, different kinds of energy. So you can take control of your energy, and and how you choose to react to it. And that's also, it's like with people who say they don't want to be mediums or psychic or anything. You can shut it off, shut it down. And if it's something that's currently frightening you, then you have to set your boundaries. You set your boundaries. You said no.
Setting boundaries is a good way to put it.
Yeah,
I think I need to find that way of control, because I am getting images that are actually, like you said, it's emotions that I'm getting, and I don't like what that energy is that I'm reading right now, because it's.
So Pearson, by the way, Kendall Blanchard asks in the chat room, Pearson said that he had this, the entity or whatever it is, this sound, this voice in your other house. He was saying he wasn't quite following what was going on there. Are you still trying to speak with him? Are you trying to speak, or is it trying to speak to you?
I feel like, if anything, it's trying to come through to me, and I hope not, because it was definitely it manifested. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to say it exactly how it was. It manifested as the guy who was murdered in that house, I believe, but I believe it was not even that. I don't even think it was remotely a human energy because it had powers that I had never seen with it or never heard
Interesting.
of that human energy having. It could influence the mood. It could influence, I mean, it could, like, I
Right.
see fights break out there all the time
Hmm.
between people. It could just control that whole environment. And to a point, at the time, being I was a young kid, it could do that with me. That's something I've tried to close myself down to, make my emotions, nothing else like that. I don't like anything like that influencing things like that. And literally, as I say that, I hear a footstep behind me, so no surprise there. I just want to say that any energy in the room, especially presence behind me, you are not welcome here. You have never been welcome here, and you are not welcome here now. And, just kind of stating that to
There you go.
maybe push out
Did
some
you
of that
did
energy.
you feel
Stand
that
your
had an
ground with it.
effect? Did you
Um,
feel it was
well,
effective when you did that, or?
actually, quite the opposite. I feel like someone's pushing down on my neck, actually, but
Oh, well, see, you can stand your ground with it. That'll do two things for you. That will either push it away if it's an entity, or let's say let's say it's not an entity at all, that it's something completely different. What that might do for you is to just strengthen you and your resolve in the way you want to handle this.
I think what I'm
So
gonna do is put my back. If this makes sense, I'm gonna put my back to a stable service because I don't
sure.
know that you guys have heard of this, but I know that people say that certain parts of your body sense that type of thing. So I
Hmm.
kind of my back and I'm facing the room now, and I don't. When I do this, for some reason, I don't feel it as bad as I did before.
Hmm.
Um, because I basically turned my back to the spot of the room, and now I'm facing it. And
Hmm.
for some reason, I don't have as much of a bad feeling as I just did because, right? I mean, I don't know what to believe when it comes to things like that. Listening to things technology wise or understanding that type of
Yeah.
thing. When it comes to long range distance things like calls, I'm not sure exactly how that works. But I mean, literally right after you were saying that stuff there, Sarah, it just, I mean, energy peaked. If you could
Hmm.
tell it felt recognized, and that's for sure. Because there's still a presence here, but there's like two almost. It feels like there's one outside. I want to say outside my window that feels more like it's there, but it's more calm. Then there's whatever the energy in here is a little more not manic, but
Aggressive.
it's aggressive, it's trying to force anxiety, things like that.
Hmm.
Um, kind of, it's the crawling energy you get on your back, you know.
Right.
I
And
think that would be something that's well worth calling somebody in
Yeah,
to
I
look at it
agree.
with you. If it's scaring you, if it's making you uneasy, if you don't know what you got going on there, and you don't know how to get to the bottom of it, I'd get a hold of somebody to come in and
I,
take a look at it.
Yeah, or have somebody do a blessing or a clearing that that's in
Hmm.
line with your belief system. So
yeah,
I mean,
I have,
even if they just come out and do it and nothing, yeah, at least it's something, trying something. It's
Right.
like with everything else, it's shots in the dark until you kind of figure it
yeah,
out.
Well, Pearson, definitely keep us posted on what's going on. And if you need any help locating somebody that can help you out, just contact us and we'll see what we can do. And if anybody out there would like to talk to Pearson, I mean, it's worth exploring. I'd love to sit and tap your mind about this. I'm sure Professor Bauer would, and Sarah and Dave would. But I don't want to tap your mind when I'm hearing from you that it's got you a little on edge. So
well,
maybe try to see if you can find out what you're dealing with first. If
yeah,
it's if it's anything all from an electronic blip all the way up to some kind of entity communicating with you. It's well worth trying to delve the depths. And I would be the first to say that I certainly am not mocking you in any way if you want to say that it's something that might be an entity. I don't think that's outside the realm of possibility at all. And maybe more within the more reasonable side of the explanation. I don't know. But I don't know enough about electronics to be able to speak to that side of it either. So
it's process of elimination. It's process of elimination.
When I think about it, if I think the electronic was because now I'm calming down, getting my energy around me.
Until it happens again.
Don't start that now. He's not.
Sorry, I didn't mean to not calm you, to uncalm you down. But yeah, definitely. If it's something that's persistent and it's causing you a little angstiness, a little nervousness, a little, call somebody to come on over and check it out with you. And that's going to be the best thing to do, I think.
Yeah, and then you should also, if you do have, empathic abilities, which I think from based on what you're saying, you may have some to a slight degree or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
That's for you to explore if you choose to. Practice. Meditation, grounding, and shielding. Those are two important concepts, and the visualizations attached to that. So that in that way, you can also, if you just said, okay, you can, if you wanted certain office hours to deal with the spiritual, you can set those and said, okay, I'm opening myself now. We'll work for an hour, close it down. And then you can, that'll also, help with your energy.
Kendall says I'd erase the thumb drive. So.
I plan to. But I think, Sarah, I think you're definitely right there. I've got to wonder, because I'll be honest with you, the energy I can deal with. I've had things like that before that it makes me nervous per se a little bit. The empathic part is what's kind of setting me on edge because I'm getting a lot of images. I keep getting an image of somebody walking closer and closer to the house. Like that's the image that keeps in the yard.
I will say too that, and again, I'm not poo-pooing what your theory might be, but the mind's a pretty powerful thing. And it can sway us. Something makes us nerve-wracking. Here's nerve-wracking in the new bedroom down here. I put in a vanity that we picked up, and Rainey saw it. Somebody put it out the end of their driveway, and she said, that looks like a really nice vanity. Will you go drive over and check it out? Which I did. It was in our neighborhood, and it was neat with the little curly cues to come up with the tall oval mirror, and really nice. And so heavy duty. It was older piece of furniture, and I thought, this is in very good condition. So I thought, well, I don't know why they're not selling it, but I'll take it. And then, of course, I got it home and go, I asked myself that question. I wonder why they didn't sell it. So here it is in my house, and it's in the bedroom, the master bedroom.
You haven't seen enough paranormal shows.
And Rainey doesn't want to sleep in the master bedroom until we get the ceiling hung in there. She doesn't want spiders down on her in the night. So I was sleeping down here last night. And, of course, what's the first thing I do? I lay in bed, and my eye hits the mirror on that wall, and way back over on that end is the doorway out to the other part of the downstairs, and it's open, and it's pitch black. And I thought, great, I'm going to see in this mirror now. It's going to become a gateway, and I'm going to see something come through that tonight. The mind starts to play those little games with you.
Well, now you to creep me out more than my original experience.
Yeah. Your mind can creep you out more than a mirror.
That'll be when you get that second mirror in, because it's like some people say there's a theory that portals are formed when two mirrors are facing each other, or I guess if you can see two mirrors. I mean, I don't know why you would want a mirror on the ceiling, but to each their own.
Yeah. Well, Pearson, keep us posted on this, okay? I would like to hear more about what goes on with this.
I definitely will, and I appreciate an open ear.
Absolutely. All right, brother. You have a good night. Don't turn that on again tonight. Play soft music.
All I am completely content to use my headphones and my phone.
There you go. There you go. All right, brother. You have a good night. Thank you for sharing that with us. I want to hear more about it. I want to hear what goes on.
Well,
See you later.
We'll have it, and I'll keep you guys.
Thanks for coming. All right. So, hey, guess what? It's 11 o'clock. I just was checking the time just now, and it's 11 o'clock. So, Etienne Remy says Ouija boards are just a tool to communicate with entities. Just be careful. I agree. Anybody else got anything else while you're here? Professor Bauer, Sarah Yusuf, and I'm not inviting a new topic. I'm just inviting. Anybody got anything to say before we
Was
go?
that directed to me? It seemed a little personal. I felt it in my heart.
Oh, did you feel that? I just got to get you on earlier.
Well, I really wasn't going to come on tonight. One thing I did want to ask you, and Dave as well, is if you saw that little clip that I took out of the captain's cabin. I put it on the Facebook page and on my YouTube, and then I tagged you and Dave.
Did I see that or not?
That was that conversation about Elon Musk.
I did not see it.
I snipped out about 13 minutes of the conversation we had about the situation with Musk and, buying Twitter and the meltdowns. And then, so we did observation and prognostications, or at least a lot of the prognostication was what I thought was going to happen with Twitter. And he was, going to move cryptos into it and the sovereignty of identity and a true global infrastructure and platform.
Yes.
What was interesting was yesterday, Sunday. Yeah. So that was Friday night. Sunday, some of the remote viewers that I followed.
Yes, I did see that. I started watching that.
They were saying basically the same thing. And I thought, okay, well, maybe there's some bit of energy flow that's going in that direction. But if you haven't seen it, it's a good little clip of, and I've been wanting to do this with some of the cabins because occasionally we get into some good stuff. And it doesn't drone on that much, at least when I get shut down. At least it gets a little bit more.
You never
concise.
get shut down. The show gets shut down.
So anyway, that was the main thing I wanted to share. Just check it out if you haven't, and check out the remote viewers too.
I'll do that.
3-minute clip.
I had one of them playing today while I was doing something else. So
yeah, it was pretty interesting.
Very cool.
So that's all I got. Happy
All right,
Halloween,
Professor.
Everyone.
You have a good night, brother. I will talk
All right,
to
you guys do the same.
And Sarah, you have a good night as well. No more candy for you. And
Not even one piece.
maybe one.
Yeah.
Before midnight.
Well, it's already All Hallows Day here.
Oh, you're Eastern time?
Yeah.
There you go.
So.
Too late. All right. Well, you have a good night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow, I'm sure. See you later.
Thanks, Scotty.
All right, guys, that's it. That's all we got. We're done. And so we're going to get out of here. But remember, we'll be back tomorrow. And I also want to put in one little plug tomorrow afternoon. Wendy Robertson and I start our weekly show. 1 hour a week called Robertson. And we will be on at 4 p.m. It's drive time. 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern. And, of course, all the way out on the left coast, it's going to be, 2 p.m. And then over in London, it's going to be 10 p.m. So we're going to be on tomorrow. Be sure to join us. You can find it right here on this channel, over here on my YouTube, and you can find it over at in audio format over on subspace.radio. And that's all I got. So you guys have a good night. Watch for the ad tomorrow. Don't forget to come and see the new show. And I will talk to you soon. So I got to find my stuff here to go out. Here we are. We're on our way out now. On our way out the door. Have a good night. Live long and prosper.